For years, my friends, we've been spoon fed the same old tired line. America's running out of truck drivers. We have a crisis, a looming catastrophe. Backbone of our economy is supposedly on the verge of collapse. Well, buckle up, my friends, because that story just jackknifed like a swift truck in the middle of the highway. The American Trucking Association, yeah, the very folks who've spent decades preaching the gospel of a so called driver shortage, well, they've quietly shifted gears. They're not crying shortage anymore. Now the story is qualified drivers. According to FreightWaves, the ATA didn't announce this with trumpets or a national press tour. They just slipped it in like it was no big deal. The grand emergency is gone, and it's now replaced with a new buzzword. Quote, we don't need more drivers, we need better ones. Greetings, truck lovers and truth seekers from all over the United States of trucking. Boss Man here with another example of how to run a collaborative think tank of advanced trucking journalism. Critical thinking fueled by faith, sanctioned by God. When you bring in a driver who's not in possession of a CDL or someone that has illegally obtained that CDL, this places everyone in reach of that person in jeopardy.
Never should we say we should put an unqualified driver in a big rig, in an 18-wheeler, and set them loose on our roads and think that that's a great solution. You've seen the videos.
Police say 28-year-old Harjinder Singh, an undocumented immigrant, made an illegal U-turn on the Florida Turnpike in Fort Pierce while heading to Miami.
Joseph Antoinier faces more than a dozen charges, including 2 counts of reckless homicide. A new arrest report we obtained says witnesses saw the semi-truck involved in the crash. They described it as driving erratically.
You just heard it right here, folks. The unqualified and undertrained or flat out unlicensed drivers are being shoved behind the wheel in the name of filling seats. And it's not just bad policy, it's economic sabotage. So here's what they don't tell you. The driver shortage wasn't about not having enough people willing to drive. It was about keeping the costs of labor down. Think about it. If there's always a shortage, companies can justify flooding the market with rookies, subsidized trainees, and anyone who's willing to grab a steering wheel for pennies on the mile. That is a strategy. The result, pay stagnates, benefits evaporate. And the very professionals who built this industry, well, people like you and me who know how to run freight safely and efficiently, well, we're driven right out of it.
So, there's been an effort across the industry to reduce standards to solve a so-called driver shortage.
And the turnover, sky high. Some fleets brag about almost nearly 100% turnover like it's a metric of growth. But what it really is chaos. You can't build safety. You can't build culture. And you sure as heck can't build trust when your workforce changes with almost every single paycheck. The shortage narrative gave the ATA perfect cover. It let them say, we can't find drivers, when what they really meant was, we can't find drivers willing to work for less than what they're worth.
There is a lack of pay versus the lifestyle that our drivers have to deal with out there. And these guys and ladies, our American truck driver community, they have been complaining about the foreign invasion.
You know, it's widely known if you can get an advantage over a competitor, you'll make more money. That's the game. It's business. But here's where things begin to not make sense. When that advantage comes from looking the other way while unqualified drivers, many who can't even communicate on the job, are being loaded, dispatched, and put on American highways. Look, when there's a shortage, companies can justify just about any lower wages, reduced requirements, looser background checks. They get to say, well, we have no choice. We've got freight to move. And the media, well, they parrot it like it's gospel, never questioning who's cashing the checks. At the top, you've got the mega carriers. They push the narrative hardest because it gives them a free pass to recruit endlessly, pay minimally, and collect taxpayer-backed incentives for training new guys. That's not solving a problem, that's monetizing it. Some of the biggest beneficiaries are companies like listed to my right: Cummings, Estes, FedEx, Warner, Pilot. Just take a look at this list. These are the people that benefit when when the shortage narrative continues. Then you've got CDL schools, some of which are owned by the same fleets, crying shortage. They make a killing bringing in new students every month under the illusion of a guaranteed job. Brokers and shippers benefit too. They know the rates will stay low when there's an endless pool of cheap labor. The more shortage headlines there are, the easier it is to justify.
And when you lower the standards and you get a flood of truck drivers that are willing to come into our industry, you're going to end up with a problem. And we've had two major problems. One is we have a safety and compliance issue.
Yep.
And the second is that we have an economic problem that's been really destroying the profitability of a lot of motor carriers. So what's really interesting about this is,
Talk to me.
So now the headlines have flipped. The talking heads have moved from shouting shortage to whispering quality. And that, my friends, tells you everything. What led us here? Decades of shortcuts, quick hires, politicians and carriers desperate to move freight faster than they could train people hauling it. We filled trucks instead of building professionals. We built capacity instead of character. And the result was predictable: wrecked safety scores, wrecked trucks, rising insurance rates, and a profession that too many people from the media on out have stopped respecting. Maybe, just maybe, this pivot is quality over quantity. Couldn't be the moment trucking needs more, because higher standards aren't the enemy.
we're now going to have an opportunity to have an honest conversation with the public about the fact that we need to fire bad truck drivers. We need to fire drivers that are non-compliant. We need to fire drivers that don't adhere to the rules. And one of the real sad stories was there was an executive who was not a part of the top 10, but certainly a mega fleet carrier, as we would define it, a couple, maybe 1,000 trucks or above, said the problem is that he's following the only thing that they've done wrong, they're not making money and they're struggling. The only thing they've done wrong is they've been following the rules.
Now, here's the question we all need to chew on. And I want your take in the comments below. If quality becomes the standard, what happens to the rates? And what happens to your pay? Because that answer, folks, that'll determine what happens to trucking from here forward. We know what real quality looks like. Tell me what you think. Let's start the conversation, because my friends, this is where it begins. And you can agree with the message I'm sharing with you. Take a moment and hit that subscribe button. Scan the QR code below and share this video with ever more drivers and help us spread the word. This is Boss Man reminding you, silence is our enemy. Knowledge is power, and you are the future. Till the next headline, keep the faith, keep it rolling.